What's the cruelest prank you've ever seen? 20 years ago, a friend of mine was prank kidnapped on Halloween. Driven to a cornfield and left tied up and blindfolded for an hour. Was not funny. The friends that did this actually got some time in prison. That's just regular kidnapping. One of the guys on my high school track team was pantsed directly in front of the girls from the team. He wasn't wearing underwear. The person who pantsed him was one of his close friends. Yeah, that happened to me when I was a kid. I had enough friends and self-esteem that I wasn't devastated. And the girls were all really sweet, like we didn't really see what happened, but I still never talked to that friend ever again. And was a little traumatized for a while. Not so much a prank, but in high school, there was a girl who was a part of the spectrum and she was showing off a dance. And these cheerleaders were clearly laughing at her. The thing is that the girl didn't realize they were making fun of her. They told her to do it again just so they could laugh more. I was 14 and going out to eat with my first girlfriend and my mom at Gym Boys. Just like 90% of 14-year-old males, I suffered from acne pretty bad. We were eating and having a good time, and out of nowhere my mom looks to my girlfriend and asks, "Do you like popping bumps?" My eyes widened. She knew I horrified by her question. My girlfriend just got quiet and her face went red. She then proceeds to say, "What, it's not like she can't see them, and you need someone to do something about them." Then laughed. Then got mad no one else thought it was funny and ruined the rest of the evening. I could never understand doing something like that to my child. There was that YouTube family that was like Daddy of 5 or something, where one of the kids was literally abused constantly. They would do horrible crap to this boy and then say it was a prank for the channel, and he would be absolutely destroyed and scream he hated YouTube. Anything done as a prank for YouTube? That's almost as bad as child abuse pranking for YouTube. That was worse than child abuse. The kid knew that a lot of people just enjoyed watching the videos of him. The TV show WB Superstar from the early 2000s. It was a show like American Idol, but they were actually looking for the worst singers. But they told the contestants they were looking for the best singers until the very end of the competition, when they revealed the truth to the winner after their final performance in front of a live audience. Very cruel show. I have no idea what radio station this was on, as I was only a kid, but they used to do prank phone calls. I have little to no recollection of many of them except this one, as even as a kid I could tell it was just wrong. The radio host rang up a woman and advised that he was the manager of her husband's company and he was very sorry to tell her that he had been involved in an accident with some heavy machinery and it had resulted in his death. As you would expect, the woman was beside herself with being told her husband had just died. She was wailing on the phone and the radio host couldn't really get another word in to explain it was a joke. And then they just cut off the phone call and played a song. Even as a kid I knew it was a really stupid and cruel idea. And I'm pretty sure that was the last time they did a prank phone call. Deep voice, hey, you just got pranked by Wacky and Steve on 96.1. A girl wrote an elaborate letter pretending to be another girl in class and handed it to me. I was shocked to receive my first love letter and felt like garbage when I found out it was fake. I remember when the ALS challenge was popular, I read an article about a prank played on a special needs high schooler. These kids told him it was just water in the bucket, but it was also pee, cigarette butts, all sorts of disgusting crap. Then they put the video all over the internet, as though the bucket wasn't enough. At my high school, 100 years ago, back in the 80s, some football players talked a special education kid into keep sneaking over and grabbing a girl's butt right in the middle of the main area during lunchtime with tons of people around. This kid was really well liked at the school and it was perfectly obvious that he was only doing it because they were being nice to him. Luckily the girl who was the victim talked to him really calmly and explained to him that it wasn't something nice to do and that the kids who seemed nice were actually being mean to him. Unexpectedly wholesome. A group of 5 boys decided to throw rocks from an overpass at the cars below. One of the rocks ended up going through a car's windshield and killed the driver. The boys got charged with second-degree murder. That's not a prank, that's just second-degree murder. I'll never forget it. A buddy and I were on a double date of sorts, so I was mainly winging it for him. The gal I was with let's call her Kay, shared a heartbreaking story she thought was absolutely hilarious. In high school, Kay and her fellow cheerleaders invited the most ostracized girl in their class to a party as a joke. Said girl was overjoyed and couldn't believe it. She was dirt poor though. She ends up buying a new pair of overpriced jeans for the party and it's obvious. She shows up with some of the tags still on them because she'll have to return them the next day. The cheerleaders notice and begin to plot. The four of us are sitting at dinner as Kay continues to relate what happened, laughing in fits. Someone had spilled an entire glass of red wine on a lover seat at the party. Kay immediately sits down opposite the spill and beckons the poor girl to sit down next to her to chat. She does and immediately ruins the overpriced jeans. Everyone laughs as she runs out the door in tears. Kay casually finished the story as a sizable lump formed in my throat. Sometimes, it's the small, sharp cruelties that cut deepest. A friend of a friend in high school had her boyfriend pretend that he'd died. He had one of his friends call her saying he had died in a car accident and had someone else calling up pretending to be a doctor from the hospital. She was hysterical. Later that day, after she kept asking the fake doctor which hospital it was so she could be there, she found out it was all prank to see if she cared. Horrible. Anyway, they broke up. To this day it's the nastiest prank I've seen in person. I remember seeing a video where they switched the pregnancy test to a fake positive one on their friend struggling with infertility. Fricked up. I remember seeing a video where they switched the pregnancy test to a fake positive one. That's fricked up. On their friend struggling with infertility. Oh man, that's really fricked up. My dad told me that when he was a kid, a friend of his gave him a glass of lemonade. It was Drano mixed with something else and my dad vomited for hours. Thankfully he survived and went on to have kids, but his vocal cords were never the same. I was once prank called by someone, a classmate presumably, and they told me they were going to kill my best friend who was in the same class as me. It was really freaking weird. The school never figured out who it was. They just asked if my friend had any enemies. Bro, we are 11? TBH, I had far more enemies at 11 than I do as an adult. Kids are buttholes sometimes. A friend of mine faked her suicide to get back at her boyfriend for April Fool's Day. I had helped her without knowing she was going that far. Her boyfriend had called her a s and dumped her when she told him she was pregnant. Don't miss living in college dorms. Don't miss either of them. They sound like a lovely couple. The La Brandt family vloggers told their 5-year-old daughter a few years ago that they were going to have to get rid of their dog because it wasn't behaving well around the baby as an April's Fool joke and posted it on YT. In 6th grade I opened my locker and a note from the boy I had a crush on fell out saying he liked me too. A bunch of girls in my grade were there when I found it and were super happy for me. Or I thought they were. When I went to the boy to ask him about it he said he didn't write it and the group of girls who were there when I found the note had written it. I turned around and sure enough they're laughing. But it crushed me. Not that the boy didn't like me back but because I didn't think these girls I'd gone to school with since 1st grade were that mean. A couple weeks later the group played a similar joke on one of the girls who was actually in on the prank against me, and I got a genuine apology from her after she realized how bad I must have felt. But none of the other girls ever apologized. Frick them be. When I was a kid, somehow my classmates found it funny to pee in other people's cans of soda. I did not have a good childhood. When I was in elementary school, some boy came back from the restroom, said he couldn't wash his hands because there was pee in the soap dispenser. Somehow a kid had gotten it open, peed in it, and put it back into the dispenser. Seen a video of two small girls. One told the other to look at the doorknob really close as it distorts your face. She then slammed the door right into her face, hitting her teeth. For your information, if you're missing teeth, as 8-9-year-olds tend to, it's really freaking easy to break shiny new adult teeth. Source: a large dental bill. Someone asked a guy to be her boyfriend. He said yes and the next day she invited all her friends to tell him that she did it as a joke. When I was 16, I had a crush on a boy a couple years older. I got a call on my birthday and he asked me on a date. I was so excited and said yes, only to hear laughter. It was the father of one of my classmates. who also knew my family and parents. Who the F does that? I have kids of my own now, and the immaturity of it still astounds me. I just got pregnant. Aren't you happy for me? Said on the 1st of April in front of a woman who had a stillbirth a month before. The first time I met my brother's new girlfriend, she pulled me aside and started crying. She told me that she was pregnant, but my brother wasn't ready to tell anyone. She asked me to check up on him cause he was really nervous. A couple days go by and I texted her to see how she was doing and if my brother was doing okay and if they needed anything. She asked me what I was talking about. I said the baby. She replied, "Oh, you believed me. I was only joking. I'm not pregnant. I can't believe you fell for that." This wasn't some teenager either. She was 30. Yes, I told my brother. Yes, he still ended up marrying her. Almost 10 years later I still refuse to trust her. In high school, one of the cutest girls in my grade came up to me and told me she had a crush on me and wanted to go out on a date. I was skeptical because no one had ever asked me out before. But I was growing into my body pretty well and definitely more attractive than I was as an early teen, so I just figured puberty was doing some good work for me. We were 16/17 and had both just got our licenses, so she said she'd meet me at the movie theater and we'd go have dinner after the movie. I told my mom and she got all excited and helped me pick out an outfit and took pictures of me before my first ever date. Cringe off, but you know how it goes. I went and got a haircut and my car detailed so it'd be rolling fresh, you know. And believe me, I was looking tasty. Fresh shave, hair edged up sharp enough to cut glass. I was dripped out before the phrase even existed. So I show up at the theater a couple minutes early and I am waiting for her, and after like 15 minutes I think maybe I'll call her to make sure she didn't like have an emergency come up or something. We didn't have texting back then. So I call her and she answers on speakerphone and like 5 other girls are all laughing at me saying things like, hahaha, he actually showed up. So yeah, it was all just a prank to hurt my feelings. Jokes on me, I guess. That is nasty, but your mom seems nice. A group of girls at my high school told a girl that they were hanging out at one of their houses at 9 near a train station, but they really just made up a time and place that would make her stranded at the last train stop with no more trains home. My so-called friends had my mom drop me off at a mall and we hang out until nearing my bedtime. Mind you, this was back when there were pagers. For the generation that grew up with smartphones. Back before cell phones were something everyone had there used to be a pager. So I asked my friends when we are going back home cause my mom has talked to their mothers about someone dropping me off home. My parents both worked. Anyways, they decided to tell me that their mom will pick them up from this door and I should go ahead of them. They left and I was a 12-year-old lost kid in a mall with no parent. Luckily one of the male school bullies saw me and was like, "Oh, I nerd, what were you doing late?" and I just broke down crying. Kid just dropped the bullying and went, "Oh I what happened?" And according to my parents I just blabbered everything IJT and he told me to wait till he found a phone and page my dad while calling his mom and telling her what happened. Needless to say, they got a frantic father going, "What the heck happened?" And the girls said they told their mom that I saw my uncle and left with him. But to be honest, me and the bully became best of friends. Good on the dude for flipping his script. In middle school I was not popular at all. I was an overweight girl with acne and a really weird personality. Popular boys would come up to me all the time to ask me out only to laugh in my face no matter the answer. It happened so often that all the other students started to notice and ignore me completely so they didn't get grouped into all the cruel joke the boys pulled. Literally me except the dude version. I still remember those suckers by name and will never forgive them. Killing a farmer's cow as some sick joke. The cow was not a meat cow either, it was the farmer's beloved pet and he petted and fed it and played with the friendly cow each and every day. The farmer sued the kids who killed the cow and he won $70,000 and $20,000 for emotional upset. Stay winning kings. The cow was an old bull. It was the most friendly cow I had ever seen. It was not even neutered and had really big horns and loved sitting next to the farmer and just grazed next to him. Imagine some kids coming into your yard where your dog was just chilling and killing him. In college, at the end of the year, a club I was in had a roast of the outgoing seniors. My friend running the roast couldn't come up with anything for one of the guys, let's call him Ben, to drum up ideas. He called a bunch of Ben's close friends. also in the club, and asked them for things to make fun of Ben about. Thinking this was a confidential conversation, they proceed to absolutely lay into Ben. The guy is seriously lame. Honestly, when I'm talking to a girl and he is there, it is supremely awkward. My friend simply recorded that whole conversation and played it outright for Ben's section of the roast, mortifying Ben and all his friends simultaneously. My friends decided that it would be hilarious to slip me false love letters from a secret admirer until they pull the plug at year's end. I've had trust issues ever since. In high school, someone made a pipe bomb and sneakily threw it into a metal trash can. One of my friends unknowingly walked by when it exploded and blew out his eardrum. The trash can looked like a peeled banana afterward. That person was ratted out and expelled. Any prank involving pretending to ask someone on a date that I witnessed in my youth group. It was pretty common, everyone had it happen at least once. And it happened to me twice, but both times I found the guy repulsive and told them so. As a school prank, the neighboring high school adopted a bloodhound our school's mascot killed and left it on the ground in front of the school. Their only punishment was cancelling prom. The frick. It was at a company Christmas party. We all participated in gift exchange. While a fellow employee gifted fake scratch-off lotto tickets to another employee, she scratched them and legit thought she won 10k. She was screaming and crying with joy. Single mom, so you can imagine. She started calling her family, tell the good news, and then she's telling everyone drinks are on me. Eventually, the gifter came clean with the news that they were fake. And then she had a nervous breakdown. It was really sad. Her brother eventually came to pick her up from the party, designated driver, and he beat the crap out of the other employee who gave the gift. I never attended another Christmas party ever again. Too much drama and something always goes wrong, or people can't handle themselves and then they start hooking up with each other. It's just a rule I have now. I am saving this. Some work Christmas parties really suck, and here's proof. Friend of mine had a crush on his co-worker. It was sort of an open secret. His manager tried to help him, offered advice, some things to say, small gifts she might be into, etc. What no one knew at the time was that said manager and said co-worker had recently started dating and hadn't told anyone yet. So he meant it as a prank on his new girlfriend to be put into these awkward situations. But my friend's feelings were really hurt when it all came out. Whoa, that is some class A ashlery right there. Saw a kid at high school cafeteria spend 20 minutes removing seeds from jalapenos and chopping up the seeds until he had a handful. He walked over to a different table and threw the handful of sliced up seeds into the eye's face of another kid. Sounds more like assault than a prank. I put meatballs in the chute for the ice maker, so when my roommate went to get some ice, his glass filled up with meatballs. I laughed until I realized that meant the further ice would taste like meatballs as well. In middle school, a girl came up to us on the playground and told this dude to go see the principal. He's looking for you. He got a call that your mom died. Then as soon as the dude ran away, she told us all she just made it up. It was freaking horrible. I feel like the girl wouldn't have a lot of friends after this. This happened to me. 7th grade, during Valentine's Day, we had candygrams and cutesy stuff we could send to our friends, and obviously middle schoolers are sending them to their crushes. They would receive these candygrams during a class period as someone came by dropping them off. You could write a little message and then who it's from. I got one from this guy friend I liked and went up to him the next period and brought it up and said it was really cute and thanks. He looked a little confused but was like, no problem. I felt kind of dumb after that and walked away, just to find out the next day that it was one of my friends who sent it to me and just put his name on it to make it seem like it was him. I mean, at least he was nice enough to go along with it because he was just as confused. We used to have these in my junior high too. I got my first and final one in the 8th grade. It was from my math teacher. Happened to me, was at my first school dance in middle school. Was always the shy kid, so I was surprised when one of the popular chicks came to ask me to dance. I said no because I was shy, but I was elated that I got asked. A few minutes later, I'm in the bathroom stall and a few kids come in and start talking about how they paid her $10 to ask me, and if I said yes she would have just tripped me and made me look dumb. I never went to another dance all throughout middle and high school, even prom. On the bright side you said no, which kind of made her look dumb, lol. Had a girl messaging me some lyrics to a song. Looked like she was trying to admit to having feelings, but when I said I liked her back she said it was just for a TikTok. I told her it was pretty annoying, and then she started saying that she actually did like me and she was sorry. But turns out that was just for her take screenshot and post those two. I don't know if that counts as a prank, but nah, you have the right to be mad there. She's literally using you to publicly shame you for her gain and literally making money doing it. Happened to me. At middle school I was very naive and a boy from my class kept flirting with me and everybody was pushing me to ask him out. But I was very shy. After a while, he asked me to be his BF during gym class, and all of my girlfriends from class told me to say yes. BC he really liked me and etc. Turns out, after I did say yes, told me that it was all a prank, and almost everyone in the class had participated in convincing me that it was real. Just why, man? I had so much trouble in trusting people again, and for years I turned a really brave and tough facade to avoid that ever happening again. Makes me think sometimes about how kids are really the worst. This isn't as bad as most of these pranks, but here goes. I was visiting a friend at his apartment when I noticed a really pretty vintage chair next to the dumpster and fell in love. I was insanely poor at the time and jumped at the opportunity to have a nice chair for my crappy apartment. I asked my friend if I could store it at his place for the night because I couldn't fit it into my tiny beater car. He said it was fine and helped me bring it to his covered back porch patio. It was one of those upholstered high back chairs with the fancy arms. Like a Reading chair, I guess. I returned the next day with my mother's truck and brought the chair home to clean it up. As I was scrubbing it in the backyard I noticed that it was much dirtier than I'd realized, but I spent hours cleaning it anyway. The next time my friends were over I proudly showed them the chair and everyone looked super uncomfortable, then burst out laughing. It turns out that my friend's wife disliked me and convinced a bunch of the guys to pee all over the chair the night I left it at their apartment. They thought it was hilarious that I'd spent so long cleaning it with my bare hands and how funny it was that I would put trash in my house. Obviously I didn't find it very funny and we are no longer friends. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video.